Have you ever stopped to think about how some of the biggest stars in music reached the top? I'm talking about the kind of fame that doesn't just break records, it changes the game, influences culture, and builds entire empires. Now, imagine an artist with that level of talent, someone with a voice like no other, a presence that lit up every room, and a style that inspired a whole generation. But instead of being celebrated without limits, she ended up watching others rise by following the very path she paved. That artist is Mariah Carey. And the real story behind her rise and the struggles that followed is one of the most complicated and overlooked in the history of music. Let's rewind to the 1990s. Mariah wasn't just another pop star, she was a powerhouse. She wrote her own music, produced her albums, and had a 5-octave vocal range that could leave people speechless. Whether it was the radio, music award shows, or MTV, Mariah was everywhere. But what made her stand out even more was the fact that she had control. She wasn't just talented, she understood her power and how to use it. That's where the problem started. Back then, the music industry was dominated by powerful men. A woman, especially a woman of color, having that much independence made a lot of people uncomfortable. She was outshining the men in charge, and some didn't like it. One of those men was Tommy Mottola, her ex-husband and also the head of Sony Music, the record label Mariah was signed to. Their relationship wasn't just personal, it was deeply professional. But it quickly became toxic. When Mariah finally broke free from Tommy, it wasn't just the end of a marriage, it sparked a silent war in the music industry. Some say that after the split, moves were made behind the scenes to block her progress. Her career faced setbacks, not because of lack of talent, but because strings were being pulled to replace her spotlight with new faces. And that's where Jennifer Lopez and Beyonce come in. Let's be clear, this isn't about blaming these women. It's about how the industry positioned them at the perfect time to benefit from Mariah's struggle. After leaving Sony, Mariah was preparing to release her movie Glitter and its soundtrack. She was ready to start fresh, doing things her own way. But just as she was about to release her lead single Loverboy, something strange happened. J.Lo released a song using the same sample Mariah had already locked in. Mariah had recorded it first, but somehow, Jennifer's version came out before hers. Coincidence? Not likely. Insiders claim Tommy Mottola was behind the move, using his power to hand the sample over to J.Lo and block Mariah. And that was just the beginning. Back then, J.Lo wasn't even known for singing. She'd made her name as a dancer on In Living Color and was building a career in acting. Yet suddenly, she had hit songs, big albums, and the best producers in the business. But here's the twist: many of the vocals on her songs weren't even hers. Ashanti, a singer-songwriter, later revealed that her voice was used in the background of J.Lo's songs, sometimes even for the main parts. But it was J.Lo who got the credit. Meanwhile, Mariah was watching other artists rise using the same tools and ideas she had created. She had laid the groundwork, and others were now walking the path without ever acknowledging where it came from. Now let's talk about Beyonce. In the early 2000s, Beyonce was becoming a solo star after her success with Destiny's Child. She had always praised Mariah in interviews, saying Vision of Love was one of the songs that inspired her to sing. She studied Mariah's vocal runs and built her own style based on them. There's even footage of Beyonce being starstruck over Mariah. But somewhere along the way, that admiration seemed to vanish. As Beyonce's fame grew, it looked like she began to distance herself from Mariah. Some say it was strategic. Her team wanted her image to stay polished, controlled, and separate from the diva drama that surrounded Mariah at the time. Beyonce was building a brand, one focused on perfection and legacy. And in that world, someone as emotional, unpredictable, and fiercely independent as Mariah didn't fit the image. That doesn't take away from Beyonce's talent or hard work. But her rise was also about timing, connections, and a machine backing her every move. With Jay-Z by her side, she had access to industry power that opened doors, even ones Mariah never got to walk through. While Beyonce's career soared, Mariah was facing an uphill battle. She was fighting rumors, mental health challenges, and a wave of public scrutiny. And during that time, J.Lo was collecting awards, landing movie roles, and topping charts even though some of her songs were built from other artists' vocals and ideas. It all came to a head in the famous "I don't know her" moment. When Mariah was asked in an interview about J.Lo, she responded with that now iconic line. Many thought it was shade. But to Mariah, it was honest. She didn't see J.Lo as a peer. She saw someone benefiting from a system that had worked against her. Over time, more pieces of the puzzle started to show. Producers and writers spoke up. Ashanti shared how frustrating it was to hear her voice on hits that weren't credited to her. Others whispered about how black artists were being sidelined so more marketable faces could step in. J.Lo may not have personally orchestrated it, but she played along. She didn't correct the record. She didn't give credit. She accepted the fame and let the industry call her a star even when she knew others had done the work. And Beyonce? Whether she consciously pulled away or followed her team's advice, her silence became part of the pattern too. As her star rose, Mariah's name started disappearing from award shows, headlines, and even radio. The industry was rewriting the story in real time. But here's the thing, Mariah never went away. She's still here, still charting, still singing, still being sampled and referenced by the same artists who once seemed to push her aside. Greatness can't be erased. You can try to hide it under shiny PR moments, but real talent always comes back around. Now, rumors are swirling that Mariah is finally ready to tell her full story, not just hint at it with quiet jabs or coded interviews, but actually speak openly about the things that happened behind closed doors. A documentary, a memoir sequel, or maybe a sit-down interview, it's coming. And this time, she's not holding back. Because this isn't just Mariah's story. It's the story of so many black and biracial women in music. Women who created something unique, only to see it stolen, repackaged, and handed off to someone deemed easier to control. Mariah's journey was never just about chart toppers, it was about standing strong in a business that wanted her quiet. But she didn't stay quiet. She's still shining. And when she finally speaks, the world better be ready to listen. And that's where we are now. We've seen it before, and sadly, we'll probably see it again. But this time, people are paying attention. Because fans don't forget. They remember when Mariah broke records that had stood untouched for decades. They remember the songwriting credits she rarely bragged about. They remember how she opened the door for a generation of vocalists who studied her runs like gospel. And they see the blueprint, the melodies, the vocal stacking, the high-gloss glam meets gritty soul that became the foundation for a new wave of superstars who rarely said her name out loud. But here's the thing about blueprints, the original never fades. No matter how many people trace over it, repaint it, or claim it as their own, the bones stay Mariah. And no matter how much the industry tried to push her into a past era, she's still making hits, still influencing, and still singing circles around the competition. So if Mariah really is about to speak unfiltered, uninterrupted, it won't just be juicy. It will be historic. Because we need to hear it. Not just for the drama, but for the truth. The receipts. The nuance. The pain. The power. And the freedom that comes when a woman finally gets to reclaim her own narrative. And let's be honest, the world is ready. Social media is not the same place it was 20 years ago. Today, fans do the research. They pull up old footage, dissect credits, spotlight the voices behind the curtain. The internet has become a living archive, and justice, even if delayed, is only ever one viral clip away. So what now? Well, now we wait. We listen. We stay tuned. Because if there's one thing this industry has proven, it's that it will always try to protect the image it invests in, even at the cost of silencing the ones who laid the foundation. But time has a funny way of correcting the record. And Mariah Carey, in all her brilliance, isn't just a survivor of the system, she's a reminder of why the system needs to be rewritten. If you've watched this far, thank you. For being curious. For being critical. For not accepting the headlines at face value. Stories like this matter because behind the music, there are real lives, real sacrifices, and real voices that have been waiting to be heard. So if you felt something today, if this video made you look at the industry a little differently, do me a favor, like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And subscribe if you haven't already, because we've got more stories, more truth, and more untold history coming your way. Because the glow up? The fame? The Grammys? That's only part of the story. The real story is what they tried to bury. And we're here to dig it up. Until next time, stay loud, stay curious, and remember, legends don't die, they just wait for the world to catch up.